It's Wednesday, the 11th of October. My name's Juan Brown, and you're watching the Blanco Lirio channel, fresh back from another Boeing 777 check ride. Back a week ago, last Wednesday, the 4th of October, a Fedex Boeing 757 had to do a gear-up landing at Chattanooga's airport in Tennessee. Now, having flown the 757 before, one of my favorite airliners to fly, I know there's at least 3 different ways of getting the landing gear down. So, though we don't know exactly what happened to cause this gear-up landing, we can do a brief systems review on the 757 and find out how it's supposed to work. Let's check it out. Starting with the Aviation Safety Network, FedEx Flight 1376, a Boeing 757-200, made a gear-up landing and skidded off runway 20 at Chatanooga Field in Tennessee. The aircraft had departed the airport at 22:32 hours local time on a cargo flight to Memphis International Airport, Tennessee, the hub for FedEx. That's a very short flight, about a 1-hour flight. After takeoff, the flight crew reported an issue with the landing gear. The flight then circled the airport, performed a low pass before landing back at Chattanooga. After landing, the aircraft went off the end of the runway. Our friend Victor over at VAS Aviation once again did a great job capturing all this ATC information and the radar returns with his permission. We'll go over this and be sure and like and subscribe and support Victor on Patreon.
Departure FedEx 1376. We're working a minor issue. Can we maintain runway heading up to, say, 5,000?
FedEx 1376, affirmative. And altitude maintain 5,000. Continue runway heading. Advise if you require any assistance.
Okay, runway heading 5,000. We'll call you back, FedEx 1376.
When you begin to lose hydraulic pressure from one of your hydraulic systems on board the aircraft, it may initially manifest itself in a minor problem with something like the flaps or the slats, especially on takeoff when you're going to retract the flaps and slats in gear. And it may initially mask the problem of a major hydraulic leak.
FedEx 1376, am I able to bring you to the north, or do you need to continue runway heading?
To the, let's see, yeah, we'll take a turn to the north.
FedEx 1376, roger. I'll just take you, correct, and turn right, heading 360.
Right heading 360, FedEx 1376.
FedEx 1376, do you require assistance?
Right now, we're talking with the company, seeing where they want us to go. We'll get back to you.
FedEx 1376, roger. Just let me know your intentions.
Will do. Yeah, FedEx 1376. Looks like we're going to be coming back to Chattanooga. We're going to need a little bit of time here, though, just some extended vectors to run some checklists. We'll call you back.
FedEx 1376, are you declaring emergency at all?
Negative.
Again, the reluctance of us pilots to declare an emergency. If you've got a problem like this going on, whether it's starts out as a minor flight control problem or a hydraulic problem, go ahead and declare the emergency. No harm, no foul. Sometimes it's like pulling teeth to get us to declare an emergency.
Enterprise FedEx 1376. Yeah, if we could just go across the final approach course and then back, we're going to need some time to get our flaps down and everything. We'll let you know when we're ready to commence the approach.
Okay, so what that indicates to me is that they've got a problem with the left hydraulic system on the 757. We'll go back and look at the slides and review this system. Remember, there are 3 hydraulic systems on the 757, like most airliners. Triple redundancy. Any one of those hydraulic systems is powerful enough to continue to fly and operate the airplane. On the 757, the heavy hitters are on the left hydraulic system, powered by the left engine primarily. When you lose the left hydraulic system, you're going to lose the ability initially to lower the gear and to lower the flaps. But there's an alternate flap lowering process that involves using electricity, and we'll talk about that in our systems review. The main takeaway is that it takes a long time to lower the flaps electrically, much longer than normal flap extension. So I think that's what he's alluding to in this radio transmission.
FedEx 1376, roger. Fly heading 090. I'll bring you across to the north and then bring you back down from the northeast.
Okay, 090 now, FedEx 1376.
FedEx 1376, just confirming you're not declaring an emergency.
Flight control issue. Don't need any further assistance at this time.
Now watch. Bing! Did you see that right here? Okay, if you're so unwilling to declare an emergency with a flight control issue, we're just going to go ahead and declare it for you. Problem solved.
And FedEx 1376, we'd like to break off the approach. We're getting an unsafe gear indication now.
FedEx 1376, roger, approach clearance canceled. Are you able to climb, sir?
Yeah, we could climb maybe back to 5,000 if that helps you.
FedEx 1376, absolutely, approach clearance canceled, climb maintain 5,000, and continue on the 230 heading.
Because he's losing left hydraulic system fluid, that's why they've had to go to alternate flaps, and now that's why the landing gear won't come down. But there's a couple of backups to this system, and they're going to use the alternate gear extension that we'll look at here in a minute.
All right, up to 5,000 and continue on the 230 heading, FedEx 1376. When we land, we're going to have to stop on the runway. We're not going to have any steering available to us, and we'll get our tug out. But just to give you a heads up, we'll be shutting down the runway. So in that case, we're going to go ahead and declare emergency this time. We got 3 souls on board, approximately an hour and a half of fuel remaining.
Hour and a half of fuel remaining. That's why I think they're feeling a little time constrained with this emergency. Normally, we're going on much longer flights and have a lot more time to sort this emergency out. And hydraulic problems and their associated checklists can be very involved. And right now, they're thinking that they'll be able to use the alternate gear extension and get the gear down. Once they get the gear down, the checklist is telling them that they won't be able to steer very well once they get on the ground. Their nose wheel steering will be less effective.
Shut down the runway. So in that case, we're going to go ahead and declare emergency this time. We got 3 souls on board, approximately an hour and a half of fuel remaining.
1376, roger, and is that for unsafe gear indication?
Attempt an alternate gear extension now.
So that's the
FedEx
alternate gear extension.
Roger, we'll get the trucks rolling for you, and just let us know when you're ready for your approach, and when you get everything set up for it.
FedEx 1376, we'll go.
Affirmative. We got a FedEx 1376 that departed here not too long ago. They're currently holding in the sky. 3 souls on board, 1.5 hours of fuel left remaining. Says unsafe gear. They said that they may not have nose wheel steering, so they plan to land, and they may need a tug from FedEx to come out and get them off the runway. And they should be landing in the next 10 minutes. We're just trying to figure out exactly what he wants to do, but he's currently about 15 miles from the airport. But he's, like I said, he's holding for now.
So that's the tower coordinating with the emergency services on the airfield. And right now they think they're just going to be landing with the gear down, but unable to use nose wheel steering after they land.
Chattanooga, FedEx 1376, we'd like to do a low pass over the runway, and if you could tell us if we're showing any gear down, would appreciate it.
FedEx 1376, roger. I'll get you a few more miles out there, and then I'll start bringing in and just sending you over the airport.
1376.
Now we'll get everybody looking at you.
So apparently they've gone through the alternate gear extension checklist and still have an unsafe gear indication.
FedEx 1376, tower advises, runway 20, cleared low approach.
Clear low approach, FedEx 1376.
FedEx 1376, your climb out instructions are fly runway heading, climb and maintain 5,000.
Runway heading 5,000, FedEx 1376.
FedEx 1376, just overfly, just low approach runway 20, just overfly the runway, and everybody will look and see if your gear appears down.
1376.
Thank you.
So they do the flyby, and there's no landing gear.
Approach FedEx 1376, any word?
And FedEx 1376, both tower and the ground crew said there appeared to not be a landing gear observed. No landing gear observed.
Okay, copy that. We're going to turn back immediately, and we're going to plan on a no gear landing.
Fedex 1376, Roger, maintain 4,000.
4,000, Fedex 1376.
Yes, we have no landing gear.
T1, the
Now the
aircraft has
tension is really
decided he's going
ratcheted
to come
up.
in for a no gear landing. Alert 3 now, and be coming back around.
EMS has been notified.
We've been talking to your desk, the FedEx desk, so we got all the information that we need from them based on your cargo and all that stuff. So
That's an important good job that the ATC did to get a hold of FedEx to find out what kind of cargo you got on board. Do you have any hazardous cargo that the fire crews need to be made aware of? And if you have time to go through the emergency landing checklist, you'll see that that's one of the checklist items is to notify ATC as to whether you have hazardous cargo or not. But right now, these guys are just dealing with a hydraulic problem and a gear problem, and they've got their hands full. And so this is a good call by ATC to take care of that business for them.
The gear up landing, obviously, will be shut down and evacuating on the runway.
FedEx 1376, Roger. Egressing on runway 20, current wind calm.
FedEx 1376.
FedEx 1376, I'll give you a long final if you'd like that.
That's fine.
FedEx 1376, Roger.
Okay, see this flashing number here? I believe this is knots, 190 knots. Now check out this first approach, which they break off.
B1, just to give you a heads up what the aircraft would like to do, the pilot has said they plan on egressing on the runway. Like I said, there's 3 souls on board.
We'd like to do one or return here. We'll let you know we're turning back inbound.
FedEx 1376, Roger. Approach clearance canceled. Do you just like to turn out to do another lap?
Yeah, we'll just, if we'll make a left turn here, we'll call you back. FedEx 1376.
FedEx 1376, no worries, sir. Approach clearance canceled. Climb and maintain 3,000. Turn left heading 090.
090, 3000, FedEx 1376.
So I think they were caught a little bit by surprise by how slow the aircraft slowed down. The aircraft was going, they didn't like the speed that first approach was coming in at. It was coming in pretty hot. They wanted to get a little further out and get a little better stabilized and get closer to their reference approach speed. So they've got flaps and slats, just no landing gear. Now they're down to, there's 180 knots.
Tower advises runway
Quite a bit further out.
Cleared to land.
More stabilized on course. You see, they looked like they were right of course on that first attempt, down to 170 knots.
130 at 4.
Anyone for update for you, the aircraft is about 5 minutes out. They're currently 10 miles from the airport.
160 knots, nice and stabilized. 150 knots, 130 knots. Good job.
Attention all aircraft, Chattanooga Airport is now closed. Airfield is closed.
Chattanooga Airport now closed.
And the crew of 3 was able to egress safely out of one right. They did not use this ladder. They used the slide over here on the right. So looking at the pictures after, well, the next morning, the aircraft is resting on its tail and the engine nacelles, so it's going to finally rest in a nose-high position. There's no nose gear doors extended at all, which indicates to me that the alternate gear extension, for whatever reason, did not work at all. We've got leading edge slats are down, and we've got trailing edge flaps are down. And of course, the crew was able to take the slide out of one right, and even in this nose high attitude, it looks like the slide reached the ground just fine. The Boeing 757, like most modern airlines, has 3 separate independent hydraulic systems. Any one of these hydraulic systems by itself is powerful enough to fly the aircraft, because each of these hydraulic systems is associated with enough flight controls to continue to control the aircraft. On the 757, what is known as the heavy hitters, the high volume items are here on the left system, including flaps, slats, landing gear, nose wheel steering, and alternate brakes. On the right system, you have your normal brakes and reserve brakes. And here in between the left and right system is a power transfer unit. Now, each of these three independent hydraulic systems has at least two sources of pressure for each system. For the left system and the right system, you've got the engine-driven hydraulic pumps, and to back that up in parallel, you have an electric-driven hydraulic pump. On the left system, the left hydraulic pump is powered by the right AC electric system, and on the right hydraulic system, the electric pump is powered by the left AC system, so they're crisscrossed. Now, what about the rat here on the center system? Folks often ask about that. The center hydraulic system is normally powered by two electric hydraulic pumps, but in the event of dual engine failure or loss of both main AC buses, a rat will be deployed, or a ram air turbine, basically a constant speed prop, will drop out of the fuselage and use the slipstream to provide hydraulic pressure, just enough hydraulic pressure to power the center system hydraulic system, to give you hydraulic pressure to be able to continue to control the aircraft in the event of a dual engine failure, and also provide just enough electrics to help back up the batteries to make sure that you have enough electric power even after the engines have quit. The rat has nothing to do with the landing gear system on the left hydraulic system. The power transfer unit is the second way to get the landing gear down on the Boeing 757. The power transfer unit takes trapped fluid from the left hydraulic system and uses pressure from the right system to power this pump and move this trapped fluid to lower the landing gear. And the way this fluid is trapped in the system is through a series of standpipes. So your normal hydraulics in all of these systems has a standpipe. So if you got a massive leak in this main hydraulic system here on the left side, that fluid is going to come down to the top of the standpipe, and then you're out of fluid and the systems are no longer going to work. But underneath the standpipe is this trapped fluid, and this is the trapped fluid that you're going to be using the power transfer unit to take right system pressure to spin the pump and pressurize and move the fluid, the trapped fluid from the left system, to lower the landing gear. So that's the second way of lowering the landing gear. The first way, of course, is just using normal left system hydraulic pressure. And here's showing the power transfer unit is taking care of the flaps, slats, landing gear, and nose wheel steering. Now, because he mentioned he needed additional time to lower the flaps, which indicates to me that he was using the alternate flap system, which we'll take a look at in a minute, the electrical system to lower the flaps, indicates to me that this system, for some reason, was not working. The power transfer unit was not providing enough pressure to lower the flaps for him. So they had to go to an alternate flaps selection using the electrical system. And the power transfer unit comes on when left engine pump pressure is low, or the left engine is shut down and the right engine is running. And finally, the third way to get this landing gear down is with the alternate gear extension system, with this switch located just below the gear handle. The Boeing 757 has the old school Boeing landing gear handle system where it's got an up, off, and down position. When you normally operate the landing gear on the 75, you pull the landing gear up, and then once the gear is up, you put the handle in the off position, which depressurizes the landing gear system so that the hydraulic pumps aren't sitting there constantly trying to hold the landing gear up. Instead, the landing gear is held up by a series of locks. Here on the main gear, it uses this lock right here on the main gear to keep the gear up and locked. And on the nose gear, it uses this 90-degree over center lock located right here to keep the gear up. So for the alternate gear extension to work, you're going to flip this switch and press the switch on, and this alternate gear extension is going to use a separate, independent, small electric hydraulic motor to use some of that trapped fluid in the left hydraulic system to simply open up the landing gear doors and release these locks, and from there the landing gear will simply free fall into position. That's the third and final way of getting the gear down on the 757. So the more I look at this situation and this system, it seems to me if all the checklists were run correctly, that perhaps there was no fluid, no reserve fluid, no trap fluid left at all in this system may have been the cause of their inability to either A, lower the flaps hydraulically, and or B, lower the gear at all, including this alternate gear extension. Regarding the flaps, alternate extension, can be a very long checklist, and instead of lowering the flaps normally with the flap lever using hydraulics from the left system, you instead select either leading edge slats or trailing edge flaps, select those over to the alternate electric system, and then begin to make your flap selection using the alternate flap selector knob here on the panel, and that very slowly electrically begins to lower the flaps and or slats. And this is the way this crew was at least able to get their flaps extended. So a rather extraordinary series of circumstances must have happened to prevent the landing gear from not lowering on this FedEx flight. One of 3 different ways to lower the landing gear. Lots of redundancy built into the system. Was even the trapped fluid gone out of the system? Did the alternate gear extension motor fail, similar to the Polish Lot aircraft that did a gear up landing? This is the first time I think I've heard of a Boeing 757 doing a gear up landing. We'll know soon enough, as soon as the investigation comes out, because all the data is recorded and will be displayed very soon, and we'll have aircrew interviews, and their hearing will improve at the hearing, and of course the cockpit data recorder. And that's the reason we go through these checklists and we announce them the way that they do, so that on the cockpit voice recorder there is the evidence that we went through the checklist and we went through the checklist correctly. Thank you so much for your support of this channel, especially the folks over on Patreon that make this content possible. See you